a monster for this one, man.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back once again to Vicious Rants. And of course, I am your host, your YouTube messiah, and often imitated, never duplicated superstar Tim Vicious. And gonna go over Raw this week was in the Performance Center. Now, before we get into that, couple highlights, news bits, if you will, go over. First things first, as of today, the day of this recording, it's been officially announced. The Rock and his little media group have officially bought the XFL off Vince McMahon, which honestly I'm kind of happy on because, well, shit was going good for it right up until the COVID shit happened, you know? And it was, okay. My son, who is nowhere near a near a football fan, he's a baseball person, you know, much like me. When you got a kid who does not like football whatsoever, go and say, "Hey, can we watch this game?" You know, what the fuck's that tell you? You know, so yeah, I'm all for it. I hope it goes good. Also, this past weekend, if you did not get it, highly recommend it. Talking Shop-A-Mania. It is very much so, like they said, the worst pay-per-view ever. And that is in the greatest, and I say that in the greatest regards because, you know how some movies are just so terribly bad you can't help but like them, like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or Plan 9 from Outer Space? Talking Shop-A-Mania is really in that same category, you know, and yeah, I got no other way to really describe it other than that. It's 15 bucks, that's super cheap for a pay-per-view. Get it, go on Fight, download it, fucking enjoy it, and if you're one to partake, I highly recommend you may wish to do that beforehand so you can just look and say, what the fuck did this motherfucker talk me into buying? Now that we've done all that, let's get into last week with the SmackDown Rewind. The big highlights from last week. AJ Styles had a killer match with Grand Metalik. Obviously, Uncle Alan won. No big shocker there. Baron Corbin convinced Chad Gable to go to the dark side and attack Matt Riddle. So I'm all for that because it gives a chance to have Gable develop a little more of a personality in a sense. Not to say that he didn't, because if you remember his old shit with American Alpha, you know, Jason Jordan back in NXT when they were running hot, you know, when they first started, they were arrogant, cocky heels, all this, that, and the other. You know, he could be a good heel. But now this gives him a chance to actually really show more of it. Or some of that again, in that sense. Also, Lacey went against Naomi. A lot of people were going nuts because Naomi fucked up on doing a blockbuster on the outside and just, dude, yeah. And, let's see, other big highlights. Well, Sonya Deville damn near shaved Mandy Rose bald. She beat the shit out of her, cut a couple chunks of her hair off, and then was about ready to take a buzzer to her before she got pulled off of her. And then The Fiend wound up attacking Alexa Bliss. Now we all know what that's leading to because of shades of the swamp fight, you know, with Braun, you know, like I said before, with the shit Braun was seeing, it was Alexa was supposed to be that girl in the veil and all that jazz. And now The Fiend wants Braun, nobody's seen him, and The Fiend wants the Universal title back. So yeah, that's the big highlight. So with that said, let's get into this week's show. Starts off with a match right off the bat. Well, obviously, well, before the match started, you know, you had Phillips doing the announcing. Hello, I'm Phillips with my partner Samoa Joe. Saxon, and all while that's happening, lights are flickering, or like, seem we're having some minor electrical difficulties. So, yeah. And now we get our first match. It's Apollo versus MVP for the US title. And I will say this. No matter, I'm not going to give the winner right away, but if y'all see this match, take the time to look and appreciate that title Apollo Crews is wearing around his waist. That one right there, because that is the last time we are going to see that title because of the new US title design, which I got zero problem with. I fucking like it. So yeah, this was a pretty nice start, you know. It was a nice start. All of it, you know, started out a little slower to my personal preference for a match, but, you know, but it is what it is. I'm not going to split hairs and say, well, because of that slow start, it doesn't get any type of approval and it's a horrible match, this, that, and no, fuck that shit. Fuck them motherfuckers. You know? Fuck that shit. It was a little slow to my personal taste, but it picked up and it was good. MVP picked up the lead after the break. He had the lead all the way going for a good bit right up until Apollo built up a nice comeback, wound up hitting that toss powerbomb of his, and they emphasize saying it's a toss powerbomb. Me personally, I think it looks like a one-armed powerbomb, but you know, whatever. Apollo gets the 1, 2, 3. After that is it. You're a winner and new US champ. He walks off with both belts, gets an interview in the back with, oh, the ever so lovely Charlie Caruso. Apollo goes and says, see this title right here, this is the one I won. I'm giving this to my kids so they can look and say, that's what Daddy won, that's what Daddy worked his ass off for. And this one I'm going to walk around with because, P, you know what, you're right, this thing really does look nice. And then MVP, later on, MVP issued a challenge for a match at SummerSlam. Crews accepted, so yeah, they're getting a rematch. Next matchup we got, it is impromptu tag match. And this came to be because Kevin Owens had the KO show. His guest was Ruby Riott. Ruby was talking about it and openly admitted, yes, and she came back from her shoulder surgery. You know, both shoulder surgeries, I should say. You know, she hasn't necessarily been on the best winning streak. You know, she hasn't had the best role since her return. And then KO said, well, that kind of prompts me to bringing out my next guest, who is Liv Morgan. Liv comes out, and then them two get ready to start to hash things out. And then we get the IIconics, who go about ripping on Ruby and Liv, and then Liv just pretty much looks and says, you know, you two can say everything you want. You could say you're the definition of BFFs and all that, but at the end of the day, there's one thing we do better than you, and that's Riott. And then Owens is just like, can we get some technical difficulties on their mics? Pointing to the IIconics, and then next thing you know, Peyton Royce just wham! Slaps the taste out of KO's mouth, and he's like, okay, was that really necessary? And then Billy Kay, wham! Hits him with on the other side, and he just looks like. Next thing you know, he turns to, looks at Ruby and Liv. Ladies, can you give me a hand here? You know, true kudos to Kevin Owens being a gentleman, not wanting to go and attack those women like that. So yeah, next thing you know, them four girls lead to a scuffle, and then it leads to an impromptu tag match. Ruby winds up being the punching bag, being in there, taking the ass kicking for the entire match right up until Liv comes in. She gets the hot tag, starts cleaning up house, working pretty damn good, especially considering, you know, we ain't seen her since, what's it, June-ish, you know, so that's like a good month not seeing on TV for all, you know, so yeah. And next thing you know, right out of nowhere, Liv picks up the win with a quick roll-up, 1, 2, 3. At the end, you see Ruby sitting on the ropes, holding it open for Liv, and then Liv's like, She sits on the ropes like, you go ahead. Giving it to her, not a respect. So, yeah, in a way, the Riott Squad's back, but not gonna lie, it does kind of suck it without Sarah Logan there, but okay. Next up, we got not impromptu. I'm sorry, I'm looking at notes further down the line. But next up, we got R-Truth going against Akira Tozawa, going against Shelton Benjamin for the coveted 24/7 championship. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, folks, this was a weird episode of Raw, and I'm not quite sure if it was a good weird, a bad weird, but it was weird. You know, and that's coming from somebody who likes weird. But I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I kind of feel like, you know, I'm not sure where to decide if it was a good weird or a bad weird. But either way, yeah, we got this triple threat match. I'm never one to really shit on anything R-Truth related, because R-Truth is a goddamn national treasure in my opinion. The guy's got like a direct link right to my fucking funny bone and knows on how to make me laugh on shit that I didn't even think I would laugh at. But he does. And it's just fucking good. You know, but as far as this match went, Shelton was pretty much leading the entire match, destroying Tozawa, chasing it, you know, hitting Truth when he needed to. And then Tozawa's ninjas started to come in. And then Lashley and MVP were like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wham! Started beating the shit out of them. So, and then Benjamin goes out to start beating up on one ninja. All while that's going on, Tozawa climbs up, hits the swanton senton onto Truth, gets 1, 2, 3, and you're a winner. And now 3-time 24/7 champion Akira Tozawa. And you know, one thing I will say, how many people do you know can say they lead a ninja clan and are a professional wrestling champion? Exactly. So yeah, next up we got women's action. Shayna Baszler going against Sasha Banks, and this came to be because Sasha and Bayley were doing an interview backstage, and then Shayna came over. It's like, you know, I've been trying to get my shot. I'm just tired of waiting in line. I'm jumping to the front. I want a shot now. Sasha was like, no, not gonna happen. And then Shayna was like, wham! Knocked her down, too short to shit. So that led to this match, and Shayna, honest to goodness, just straight up out-wrestled Sasha every which way possible. You know, Shayna just was dominating, like, you know what? Okay, kid, you want to try and outdo me? I got you now. Nope, I got you. Wham! Nope, you ain't doing nothing. You know, and Shayna took it to her, and I'm just sitting there like, ooh, we gonna see it. Ooh, this is a good old-fashioned ass whooping right here. Yeah. And for some reason, the match came to an end when, just as Shayna had Sasha locked in for a finish and a submission, Asuka came out, beat the crap out of Bayley, and then the ref hit the bell, which made 0 sense. They cut the commercial, they come back. Again, Charlie's in there. Charlie Caruso, is out there, interviewing my future third ex-wife, Asuka, and then Asuka's saying, Kairi's going to be okay, but for right now, I want revenge, and I want Sasha, I want a shot at her at SummerSlam. And then Shayna says, whoa, I ain't here for nothing. I'm here for peace. I want you to win. I want you to beat Sasha. So that way, then I can beat you and get that title. And then Sasha comes out and says, Asuka, honey, you ain't getting no shot at me unless you can beat Bayley. And then, so yeah, next week we got Asuka versus Bayley for a title shot. And if Asuka wins, she gets a title shot at Bayley at SummerSlam. Now, we all know where obvious storytelling is leading to that. Next up, we got a very interesting very interesting segment called Raw Underground, brought to you by Shane McMahon. And yeah, it's a ring set up with no ropes or nothing, you know, kind of like the old 1913s or like early 1900s, like 1920s kind of wrestling era ring setups. And it's just two guys looking like they're doing Fight Club. That's honest to God the best way I can describe it. You had Fight Club. It was Wrestling Fight Club. My legitimate first thought was, oh dear Lord, they're doing an MMA version of Brawl for All. And then I saw, and then it played a little more, and yeah. So they had this one dude, Dabba-kato, wind up wiping the floor with two different guys. And then, yeah, that was it. And then they showed some go-go dancers, which not many people were really, which a lot of people were surprisingly not fans of. Which is funny because all the people that I saw on Twitter that were saying they don't like those dancers were also the same people that constantly praise the Attitude Era for everything they did and swear that, you know, WWE should go back to the way things were with the Attitude Era. Honest to God, if you look back, you know, now let's take the rose-tinted glasses off and let's just admit facts. The Attitude Era was really nothing more but a bunch of dick and fart jokes, tits and ass, with a smidge and pinch of politically incorrectness. That's all it really was, plain and simple. And this is coming from somebody who grew up in it and grew up in the ECW arena. Okay? So, I'm not saying it was bad or good, I'm just saying it was that. You know, it had its good and it's had its bad. But that's what it was. So, next up we got Angelo Dawkins going against Angel Garza, in which Angel Garza's out there, you know what that means. Zelina Vega, and good God almighty. Aleister Black again, you no good goddamn modern day Billy Kidman, son of a bitch, prick bastard. Okay, I'm good now. Dawkins was leading right before the break. Garza picked up the pace after the break. The match came to an end really weird though, because right out of nowhere, Montez Ford fell over, and then Dawkins like, yo, Ford, you alright, man? You okay? You cool? You good? Next thing you know, turns around. Next thing you know, Garza finishes him off, gets the 1, 2, 3, and then they're like, well, what's going to happen? Montez Ford is supposed to compete next. And then they cut the commercial, and then we come back, and then we get Ford versus Andrade. And they're playing it up, and Ford looks a little winded, but he's still competing at high level. You know, he just looks like, you know, he's sick, but he's working through it, for lack of a better term. And Ford, he was leading at the start. Andrade started to pick up the pace more so, and then right out of nowhere, when Ford started to build a second comeback, you know, wound up hitting drop kicks and then did a over the top, got in, started doing like the Ultimate Warrior, shaking the ropes, and then next thing you know, passed out right point blank, and it was like, whoa, shit. I mean, honest to God, my dad was watching with me, and his first thought was, holy shit, what the fuck happened? He have a seizure? Because he looked like, the way he was playing it up, it almost looked it, you know? And this is coming from people who have family that are epileptic and have had seizures. So yeah, but they cut to the back. The next thing you know, they got Ford and Bianca Belair coming out of the trainer's room. Bianca saying, look, they say he was poisoned. And then Bianca went straight up onto Zelina like, yo, what did you do to my man right now? I ain't playing no games. I want to know right now before I have to wipe your face all over the floor. Zelina's like, whoa, listen. I ain't. I'll do what I gotta for the win, but I ain't gonna do that. Even I got standards. Which then led to a cat fight between them two. So 10 Get You 20, we're probably gonna get a match between them, if not next week, at some point down the road because of it. Next up, we got two more fights between... The next two matches that happen are really kind of more of that Raw Underground stuff. It was Erik from the Raiders going against a dude, wiped the floor with him real quick. It was one-sided. And then the last match of the night was actually Ziggler doing old wrestling style, like doing like a wrestling style MMA fight, taking out a dude. But before that, before the Ziggler one, the closing segment prior to that was Seth Rollins confronting Dominic, who issued a challenge to Seth for a match at SummerSlam. And then Seth came out. Before I address the matter of Dominic, I need to tend to some internal business. And then went over to Tom Phillips, started addressing on how Phillips was laughing and cheering for Dominic as he was attacking Seth. And then just as Seth was like, Murphy, get him, Joe was like, no. Now this is what you're going to do right now. You're going to send your little whipping boy over there, or I'm going to slap the lips right off your face and have him watch. Because if you think Phillips was laughing hard, I was laughing twice as hard. I was laughing harder. And honest to goodness, there's a very small list of dudes that I would legitimately be scared for my life to get into a fist fight with, and that are pro wrestlers. I can tell you the top three right off bat: Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, and Samoa Joe. Those three dudes I would not want to fuck with, because those dudes had legit training to be able to pound somebody in the hamburger meat. You know, you can have dudes that look all big and bad, you know, but, you know, they're not really big fighters, you know. Case in point, Goldberg. You know, Chris Jericho wiped the floor with him, but, you know, then you got dudes who are like fucking Jake Hager or Bobby Lashley that are legit badasses, because they will throw you down, you know, and just, yeah, won't want to fuck with any of those kind of dudes like that. And then, anyways, back to that now that I spun off track for a minute. Seth and Murphy are in the ring. They got chairs. They're taunting Joe to come in. Joe took his blazer off, got his collars rolled up, and he keeps on going up, but Seth keeps hitting the ropes, hitting the ring post, taunting them. Next thing you know, Dominic out of nowhere, wham, cracks a Singapore cane right across Seth's back, cracks it over Murphy, starts going to town on him. Joe then just backs off, lets Dominic handle it. Dominic then takes out both guys, and then Seth says, alright, you know what, Dominic? You wanted this that bad? Congratulations, kid. You got it. Now, as far as the closing segment of the show, it ended after that, excuse me, after that Raw Underground thing with Dolph Ziggler. MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley come on in. MVP grabs the mic off Shane, says, yo, as of right now, Raw Underground is under new management right here. The Hurt Business. And if any of y'all got a question, don't like it, feel free to take it up with the CEO right here, Bobby Lashley. And then Bobby Lashley took out like 2 or 3 dudes. MVP took out a dude, which, okay, MVP is another dude I wouldn't want to fuck with, because he's a Brazilian judo instructor, you know? And I've been waiting to see him throw out some type of moves that I know for a fact he's done, that he can do. And then to see him go, wham, throw a dude down, and then next thing you know, start throwing some forearms into a dude like, oh, fuck! Shelton Benjamin then proceeds to beat up a dude. beat up some dudes, and then they clear house. That was it. And then Shane just grabs it like, yes, it. That's Raw Underground. Hope all y'all enjoyed it. We'll be here again next week. Leave it at that. Honestly, they didn't play enough of it for me to be able to really formulate an opinion one way or another to say if I liked it or not. You know, the Raw Underground shots were, it was maybe a 1.5-minute segments with like 30 to 40 second fights that they showed. And so I can't formulate an opinion one way or another whether I like it. I don't, but it's different, and I'm always a huge advocate on introduce something different. Try and introduce the fans to something different. You know, you can't do the same shit and produce the same stuff day in and day out every day. You got to introduce some new stuff whether the people like it or not. And they did, albeit I'm not necessarily it was good or bad, but yeah. Hopefully it leads to something good. I got my money saying that it's probably a short term, 3 maybe 5 month little bit that they're going to do before it finally hits its point. But yeah. So that is it for this week's show, folks. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, go back, watch some of the other episodes. Look for me on the Twitter at Tim Vicious. Also got another account, Tim_Vicious, in the off chance I get put in Twitter jail. Also on that Facebook gimmick, Tim Ash. If you're going to look for me on my Facebook gimmick, let me know you found me on there from here. On the Twitter at Tim Vicious. I don't think I got pre-John going. Also, folks, don't forget to follow these cool ass folks right here on the Twitter. Asshole Mulligan, Kenny Killer, DSB_IV, Diabolica RA, and Sergeant Curry Pants. And folks, like I always tell y'all, you love me great, you hate me. Fuck yous.